Welcome back to Rotten Rust Garage. It's been doing a little bit of cleaning since the last video. Actually, a lot of cleaning. And so I'll bring you up to date on everything that's been going on and how it's been going and kind of show you kind of what I found. So let's get started. So here's the driver's side head. Been cleaning on it, wire brush, whizzy wheel, the Scotch-Brite, get the exhaust side cleaned up. Got all the valves out of it. As you can see, been cleaning in here little by little, and that's coming along pretty good. And then, let's see, get a little bit of room here. Flip this joker up on its intake face. And there is this side, looking a lot better, still got a ways to go. Quite a bit of carbon in there. I'm gonna do, what do you call it, valve lapping, I think. You know, put the little guy in there and see how that works out, because there's a lot of buildup. When I was cleaning this, I had it flipped the other way around, you know, basically laying on this exhaust port side. And I filled the intake runners with the valve still in. With carb cleaner to let it soak on these intake runners down at the bottom around the valve stem, etc. Top of the valve, and quite a bit of it you can see just leaking out, so not a really good seal on most all of these valves. So we'll fix that, and just again a lot of cleaning. Now the valves themselves, as you saw, they had a lot of crap on them, and so these have just been run through the parts cleaner. This one is straight parts cleaner, and you can see the bottom of it still has some buildup on it, and this one not only went through the parts cleaner but then soaked in the parts cleaner all night. So for the number 1 cylinder, I've got that one on an experiment. This went through the parts cleaner, the ultrasonic parts cleaner with the super clean, and then after I dried it off, I put it in this brand new carb cleaner and let it soak overnight. And then the number 7 valves, I just straight out of the head and right into this bucket of much dirtier, older carb cleaner. You can tell the can's pretty old. It's kind of an experiment. See, you know, what gets it the cleanest, and then probably going to end up running these guys back through that carb cleaner bucket. Just see if it'll help out any. Then some more interesting things. So pulled out the first valve stem seal. This is for an exhaust valve, and it was actually supple. I was like, daggone, that's pretty good. You know, no cracking or anything. Get to the intake valve, and let's see if you can see that crack on there. Get it just in the right light. You might be able to see it if this thing will focus. Anyway, it's got two giant cracks in it. Oh, there's more now that I squeezed on it. The third valve, which is an intake, this one is hard as a brick. I had to pry it off with a screwdriver, but no cracking. But then it gets interesting. The next exhaust valve, this is how it came out. It just fell off as soon as the valve came out. So this one, it's on the floor now. This one was broken in half. And so on down we went. This one was split down the middle. You can see that pretty good. That's pretty clear. So yeah, these things are trash. All these valve stem seals are just junk. This one's rock hard, no splitting. And there you go, there you have it. So the lifters are beautiful. Got a little handy dandy tray here from the Zon online, and this holds them real neatly. It's marked rear and front, so you know. And those look really clean. I've checked those against each other, and they've still got a pretty good face on them. No damage at all. So the cam actually looked really pretty. So that's what I'm doing. It's just a whole bunch of cleaning and scraping and trying different things to see what cleans it the best. And you know, I'm making progress, but I still got a ways to go. And this is only one head. The other one's over here. It's kind of did a nighttime soak of carb cleaner. It still looks like hot garbage on the bottom, and that's to be expected. Just all of this carbon. Ooh, let's take a look at that. Hold on. Man, take a look at this. This would be number 8 cylinder. Look at this big chunk of, like, that's casting. We're gonna have to get in closer on that when the time comes to can you see that big chunk right there in this light? That is horrific. I don't know if that comes off or not. Hey, that's plugged up with rust. Let's see if we can break that through. A lot of cleaner doing this one. I wish I had a big tank to just drop it in and with cleaner, but I don't. So man, that's interesting. If that's casting flash, that's bad. And we will definitely grind that off of there, but it's real close to the valve face, so we'll see. Obviously the valve will be out, but just don't want to mess that up. No burn valves, that's good. Okay, from the experiment I just told you about with cleaning these valves, we're going to pull out the number 7 valves, and these were the ones that I just dropped straight in here yesterday late afternoon. And they still got a lot of crap on them, but they're actually looking pretty decent. You can see still quite a bit of garbage here, but that probably is going to flake right off. So let's wipe these off, and actually before I wipe them off, let's get a little wire brushing going on. It should come off pretty good. I don't want to stand here and smell this, so there we go, much better. Yeah, let's see how this does. Now these did not go through the ultrasonic, so I'm kind of curious. I really am so far liking that ultrasonic, doing the rockers and everything on there, through there. Those are coming out beautifully. Of course, they don't have all this carbon on them. They were just oily, a little bit of dirt, but and I cleaned the face of the valve when it was in the head still, just real lightly with a wire brush. All right, that's still carboned up, not terrible. Now I'm curious, if I run this through the ultrasonic, will it do any better than that? Okay, so maybe I'll do that. But now let's see how the one in the bright new clean carb cleaner bucket. Those have already been through the ultrasonic. Let's see how those turn out. Yeah, this is still pretty crusty. This is all down below where the valves is gonna be in the valve guide up there. So don't worry about the wire brush on there. I'm not getting up into the shiny up here, but that all looks really good. Yep. All right. So that's about as good as it's gonna get, I guess. They're still pretty dark compared to the one that went through the this is just ultrasonic here. So, all right, put that back. Now let's put the, oh wait, I'm sorry. Did I say 7? These are number 5. I don't know why I wrote, no, they are number 7. Yep, they are number 7. Keeping everything in order. All right, now let's take a look at number 1. These, again, been through the ultrasonic and then good long soak for over 12 hours now. Oh boy, huge difference. You can see that almost immediately, particularly on the intake valve. So again, these have been through the ultrasonic and then a ride through the carb cleaner bucket overnight. Again, still some carbon on here. But let's take a closer look. It definitely looked cleaner than the other one. Oh yeah, it is. Man, that took a ton off. That's pretty daggone good. That took a lot more off than just the straight cleaner. Well, here's the exhaust without any scrubbing. Let's just wipe it down. Yeah, it took most of that funky white ring off of there. I don't know if that's lead buildup because this was probably, I'm certain, ran many years on leaded gas. Although it should have hardened valve seats. That looks pretty good. I'd say it looks a lot better than the rest. So I think we'll go with that method. All right, I'll drop the other ones down in there. Cool. So really heavy carbonization all through the intake manifold and all down the intake runners and all over the back of the intake valves. Not as bad buildup on the back of the exhaust valves, but all of that still indicates definitely leaking valve stem seals for a while. So probably ran pig rich, probably had a poor ignition system, and also leaked oil down the valve stems, and hence all this carbonization. I've never seen this much carbon build up in an engine in my life. I've only taken a few apart. Usually what I see is in the valley where the lifters are. Like I've taken apart a small block that was clearly not cared for. It had a zillion miles on it, and there were big chunks of just burned up oil where they hadn't changed oil on it enough, and the oil just turned to like chunks of carbon everywhere. It was really filthy. But I think what we're seeing on this engine is a combination of oil and gas being burnt and not being burned thoroughly. So that adds up to garbage and a lot of cleaning. So this is going to take a minute. I'm just going to keep after it as much as I can every chance I get. I'm out here cleaning, but I can only be around these chemicals for so long before it starts making me feel bad. So it'd be a lot nicer if I could open up the doors, but it's 30 degrees outside, so I'm not going to do that. All right, it's the next weekend now. I spent the last week traveling for work, and I'm back out here in the shop trying to figure out where I'm at, where I left off, and I've been just kind of cleaning up a little bit, inspecting things, and trying to figure it all out again. So been cleaning on the left head, the driver's side head, a little bit more this morning. It's getting there. It needs a final cleaning, but first I want to, before I get crazy with final cleaning and reassembly of it, I want to show you this. So this is the intake manifold gasket held up perfectly to the bolt holes, and I want you to take a look at these the ports, the intake ports on the head, and how awful they are with alignment relative to that gasket. When you hold this gasket up to how it would go against the intake manifold, it's beautiful. It flows perfectly. Like these gasket holes match the intake manifold beautifully, but look at how terrible this is. So I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to grab the Whizzy wheel and a deburring bit, right? After I mark this, I'm going to hold it up there real accurate, mark it with a Sharpie, and just take down real gentle like the edges here. Maybe make it quote unquote match a little better, not have this flat wall sticking out perpendicular to where the air is going through. So hope this doesn't turn into a disaster, but you know, I'm not doing anything super nutty, just taking off this rough casting edge here. Look, I mean, you can clearly see how uneven all of that is. And the flash there, just kind of sloppy made, you know. So let me get started on that. All right, I can set this one with, just do a little test right here, see how well I can control this. Not bad. All right, I'm feeling good about that. Let me get some ear protection. All right, I'm not gonna go crazy at first. I'm just gonna start with a little bit here and there. Really grabbing it. So a few minutes of doing that, and you can already see, well, let me get it lined back up. We're getting a lot better. Wants me to take more off over on this corner, but I'm feeling pretty good about this. They look way, and oh, by the way, this is the new gasket. Figured might as well use that instead of the old one because they could be slightly stamped differently, but I use the purple marker because it shows up pretty good again. Don't know if the camera shows, but over in this corner, could use a little more chewing. It really is going to depend. There is some slop when how this gasket can go on there. I'm just lining it up with this outer rim of this bolt hole here all the way across to make sure I've got it even. Not the easiest thing to do, but it can be done. I could run the intake manifold bolts down, but they don't, their shoulder isn't as big as this hole right here, so this can still slide around in there, although it would help hold it in place a little better. So again, this is an imperfect science, but it is way better than it was, as you can now see. Much cleaner on the edges, and it's not sharp through here anymore with that overflash. So do the same thing to the other side. Not going to go crazy, just blended it a little bit at the bottom. Don't know if the camera will see that or not. And call it a day on that. You know, I'm not going to make these heads incredible, but I just want to have a little care there, you know. I don't know. I'm going to leave the rest of the ports alone, although there's probably stuff in there that could be taken out that's unnecessary. But it's getting clean, it's getting there. think I'm going to set this aside. Now I'm going to attack the other head. And once the rain stops, maybe in a couple hours, I'll be able to get outside with some brake clean and just brake clean, brake clean, brake clean. Air gun, blowout passages again, brake clean, but you get the drift. So get it clean so I can start reassembly soon. Here's a side-by-side comparo of the ports that I cleaned up versus the old crappy, you know, not rectangular. Maybe the camera will catch it, maybe not. Might be like, maybe they look the same to me. I can tell the difference standing here though. These are just, it's wild how terrible that casting is. You can see this is definitely narrower than that. And the gasket's much narrower. Got the same thing here. Hopefully that kind of shows where all I did was kind of clean it up some, so no harm, no foul. Done with this head for the most part, other than final cleaning and reassembly. Now it's time to spend everything I just did to that one, I got to do to this one. And it's going to take a while, and I'm not going to bother filming any of that because I'm going to basically spend the rest of the day cleaning on this. And I can only do it for so long before the fumes take over with the carb cleaner and whatnot. So it's tedious, but it's got to be done. All right, quick update on the passenger side head. Got the valves out. Got a set that's in the parts cleaner now. I'll turn that on in a minute, the ultrasonic. Before I run up to the store and get more carb cleaner, I thought I'd just show you a couple interesting things. This is, remember the passenger side head, when I showed you on the floor, there was a big chunk of junk right down here below this intake valve, and I don't know I don't know if the camera's going to show it or not, but there is all kinds of like rough edge from the casting right there, and that's what was catching all that. Over here you can see this crazy triangle looking piece of flashing, just terrible casting right up to where the valve seat is. I don't know if I'm going to try and get that out of there or not. It's going to be a hot spot for sure if I leave it. And it had all kinds of garbage up on it. And then, which one was it? Over here had some stuck right there because there's a big piece of cast iron right in that little corner. That'll show up more once I do more cleaning on it, but it's definitely there. It's a big lump right there. And this one was fine. Here's your valves. There's one valve stem seal that didn't make it. That was this exhaust valve right here, which was, you can see some rust around the edge of the valve where the seat is. And so it was definitely open. And I can see some pitting where the valve seat goes. So that's going to be interesting if that ever seals. Hopefully lapping will take care of that. Same deal here. This one must have been partially open, but it's not as bad as this one. And this one was split. This one was completely crushed. The rest of them hard but intact, which is ironic because this head had more carbon in it than the driver's side, a lot more, at least build up hot spots. So I am going to try and clean that part up. I'm scared to clean that one, but I might try, just at least on these outer edges some. I'll probably leave that alone. But anyway, more cleaning. Got to go to the store, get some carb. Well, that was an odd combination. Some of it was metal casting. That ended up being some kind of just like something melted to the inside of the cylinder wall. It wouldn't come off like picking at it with any kind of metal, like, you know, screwdriver tip or my pick.
Thought it was metal, really looked like metal, and you saw it was kind of wedge shaped, but it like dusted out of there. I don't know. And so got all these cleaned up, all the little bits that were sticking out. Again, some of it was metal bits, some of it was whatever that stuff was. I don't know, maybe it's lead byproduct, sulfur or something, who knows. Cool. All right, now it's time to do the final clean on this thing. I've got it about as clean as I think I'm going to get it. So I'm getting this to the point of clean, minus like final cleaning. But here's my straight edge. This thing is really good. Comes off of a carpenter's tee. I've checked everything, and this one, if you hold down on this end, the 1,000th will start to go through just at the far end. There you go. Starts to go through. But in the gasketing area, it wants to start right there. It can right there. Same thing, hold it down here. It'll go through down here at this far end, but not where the gasket's going to go. Again, that's a 1,000th. Oh, heck, I'm sorry. That's a 2,000th. I thought I had the 1. So about 2,000ths off, and it's kind of high centered a little bit. And you can definitely feel that when you put this on here. You can kind of hear that versus, say, wait. Here, it's nice and square, whether I go angled across, you know, this way, anywhere on it, it is nice and square, and I see no gaps and nothing fits under there. So I'm pretty happy with this, and it's pretty square. On the other head, I got ahead of myself on this one. On the other head, I did check the valve stem height prior to taking the valves out. Today I was like, oh, I just got to do this one and knock it out, right? Well, I got busy taking all the valves out before I put my straight edge across the top to double check the valve stem height, see if anything was low or goofy. I'm keeping everything in order, all the springs, the keepers, everything in order, other than say the rockers. Actually, the rockers, I just got those in intake exhaust order. You know, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, whatever. But so this is going to go back together the way it came apart with the same valves and the same holes. That's how I'm going to lap it, the valve to the hole specifically. And I'll have to remember when I'm putting the pasture back together to get a check across the valve stem height. Now I did that on the driver's side one. It was perfect all the way across. Every valve was evenly up. So that's a good thing. Hopefully this one will be the same when I get it back together. So just an update. One more thing on this, and don't know if we'll be able to see it or not. And don't know if it's going to focus, but if you look real close right here, you can see it's like a chewed out spot. Now, I might be wrong. I thought these valve stem guides, I thought these were pressed in, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's all machined, and that could be just bad casting. But I thought it was dirt, and I was trying to get it off there, but it's not. It's like a definite pit. So I you know, it is what it is. Going to reuse it. That's an exhaust valve, and it's not as big of a base as the intake. Yeah, so there you go. I don't know what's going on with that. Again, if you know, tell me. Is that machined in, or is that a pressed in piece? I thought it was machined in, but I could be wrong. Machined in would explain that. That'd be just a casting flaw. Anyhow, there you go. All right, I just cleaned up the intake ports to match the gasket. While I was messing around, I wanted to show you something here. If you ever wonder, I got this pressed down, my straight edge, pressed down on the left end from your point of view. If you ever wonder why valve cover gaskets don't seal, that's because this thing is just off by 3/16 of an inch. Totally. It's that cast edge, and there's a spot right there. Super dimple right there. I'm sure you can't see it, but I can sure feel it. And this had a real excessive oil leak here, and there was one here, pretty bad. Obviously much higher in the middle, lower on the ends, and who knows, you know, maybe the valve cover bolts were a little loose, but Well, they don't seal. Got to get good compressible ones. I guess cork's what I'm going to be using, but whatever works for you, but that's why they leak. That is not a square surface at all. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. How to assemble all the valves and springs. Yeah. Oh yeah, much smoother. No garbage where the valve seat is, so Tommy likey. So messing with these valve stem seals, getting ready to put this all back together. The exhaust, you know, they're same in the engine kit that came out of it. They're identical seals, but the exhaust, like it doesn't attach to the exhaust seal post right here. So here's an example. Just kind of flops around on there. The intake positively latches on there. It's got little ribs inside of the valve stem seal. Why is that important? Well, this valve can go up and down and the seal stays there, but the first time the exhaust valve gets compressed, that seal's coming back up with it, and it's just going to ride like that. I don't understand that. I would have thought that the seal itself would have been much more of a positive lock to that outer diameter. It is not, though, but it's identical to the garbage that came off of it. They are the same seal. This one's actually still supple from the original. Yeah, I don't get it. If you know, please throw it down in the comments. So I got the first two valves in. Yay. Got the seals on them too. Remember to do that before I put them in. And you know, using this Proform tool, pretty easy, but I got to kind of hang it out over the edge of the bench. I read a review online about this Proform. The thing is, like, to get it fully open, this handle's got to come pretty far down, and the bench top interferes with it if I just did it, you know, with the head facing the other way. I'm probably not making any sense, but I got to kind of get it to where it's just the head's got to hang off the edge here. And I will also say I've taken apart heads before, usually to send them off to the machine shop, everything checked and everything, and they replaced the valves. In other words, because I was having an engine built, you know, it was all new valve springs, everything, and actually the machine shop did the heads for me the last time I had it done. So what I'm basically saying, this is my first time ever actually compressing them and getting these silly keepers in, and man, it's a struggle. So there's probably a trick, probably involves maybe putting some engine snot on the keepers to where they stick in place. But right now, once I get them slipped in there, I got to kind of hold them and then slowly start to release the pressure of the valve spring compressor until they come up, and then they slide in there. Makes me a little bit nervous about clipping off the ends of my digits if things go wrong, but there's two. Hey, now only a ton more to go, and I've still got to lap the valves on the passenger side head, which means a complete re-clean. You know how that goes. So this is my weekend now, the rest of my Saturday. Actually went to the junkyard with my son for a little while this morning. Really cold and rainy. Not a lot of fun to be out there, but he scored a deal on an electric seat for his 1999 truck to upgrade his, and they only charged $38 for that electric seat. Took the whole seat. He looked on eBay and found just the base with the electrical stuff was $300, so score. I don't know how much more of this I'm going to video, but maybe I'll just give you an update in a little while. Too much to have the camera running. This is tedious and slow. So I don't, it's not exciting. So all I can really do is show you updates. Again, not real happy with these exhaust valve seals. It feels like, well, it's probably gonna leak. But it is what it is. And these heads got to get back together. And then I'm gonna be traveling again all this coming week, and maybe next weekend I'll get to put the heads back on, and then go that route, get the timing chain done. Obviously I need to do that probably before. I mean, I can throw the heads on, it doesn't hurt anything. Just don't want to put the valve train together. Maybe I do, I don't know. Chicken or the egg, which came first? I guess I can do it in any order I want. So anyway, I'm gonna keep working on it, and then I'll update you here in a minute. All right, that's done. It was fun. It's a little tedious, get the little keepers in. I got a little bit better at it each time. The exhaust valves kicked my butt. Don't know why. And I had to do some fine adjusting on the old Proform as far as this, right, sorry about that, this nut right here, and getting this, to the perfect amount to where I'm not over compressing the spring, but compressing it enough that I can actually get to the keeper slots. So yeah, everything's in there. It looks dark because it's well oiled with WD-40, and here we go. So now I'm just going to repeat this. I actually got quite a bit to do to the passenger side head. I'm going to do some more deep cleaning. I'll kind of show you. I talked about taking what I've been taking is gun bore patches, oiling them with WD-40, and then sliding them through each of the valve stem guides. And that way I know, like, I can see it come out the other side dirty. So that's the last thing I do after I give one final cleaning to everything. I'll probably take it back outside, brake clean the whole thing again, every passage one more time after because I'm going to make a mess with it. Then I'll go through those bores after I've done the valve lapping. That's the first thing, and that valve lapping kind of makes a mess. That's why I really want to hit it with brake clean after I do that, and do any other cleaning I'm going to do. So, and that'll wrap it up on that head, and I'll get the valves back in. I'm just not good at this, especially with a valve spring compressor, and that one was pretty good, not bad. I think it was like $120 on Amazon. And these aren't even strong springs, these are just factory springs. I can't imagine if I was doing this with some hefty, springs off a big old Lopey cam. But it says this thing holds up to, I don't know, 500-pound springs. I don't know. You have to look it up. So anyway, I'm gonna wipe this down and bag it and set it aside for probably next weekend, hopefully, when I can get putting it back on the engine. So that's where I'm at. All right, well, I'm editing the video now, and come to find out, some things that I recorded didn't record for some reason. Don't know. I'm notorious for selecting photo and hitting record and just taking a picture when I think I'm recording. Anyway, an important piece that was missed. I kind of wanted to show you all this. This is the passenger side valve bank, right, for the head. And I wanted to just kind of point out a few things that I thought were really interesting. You'll first of all notice these two valves, intake valves, right? Very different. This one's got the old dimple inside of it, right? This one has a very wide rim
that's been ground, right? Compared to, say, this one, which has a very narrow rim. This one has an even wider rim. And they all stained differently and they all cleaned up differently. You can actually see the casting on this one. I'm thinking this might be an older valve, I don't know. Similar with the exhaust valves, but not as pronounced. Now, what I really want to show you though, is let's take a look, all right? Got my handy dandy little scale here. And let's just take a look at what that ends up being. 132 grams, cool. All right, back to 0. All right, that's number 8. Let's try the number 6 intake. Old dimple die here. Boom. 136 grams. Now let's go all the way down to number 2. 128. Nutty. Nutty. And just for completeness, 133 for number 4. So that is interesting. Different weights of the valves, close in grams, but like if you break it down to ounces, that it actually, if you did it percentage wise, they're pretty far off, which is different rotating mass. Then I even noticed with the springs. Here's an exhaust spring set, 112. Let's go to the next exhaust spring set. 111. And the next one. 113. And then the last one. 111. So, yeah, different weights on the springs is going to probably equate to different spring rates. All kinds of nonsense. So this is just kind of, it's a mixed bag of terrible. These heads, the 452s, got a really big chamber here. Hardened valve seats, that's probably the best thing going for them. They got the big intake valves, just like 906 heads. So, I mean, I'm going to use them, and I've cleaned them up as best as I can. But at the end of the day, to really do this right, you got to spend money. And the thing is, if you're going to go ahead and buy all new valves and get springs to match, like, say, an upgraded cam, you're going to have money sunk into this, because then this is going to have to go to a machine shop to get the new valves seated properly. And, you want to do it right if you're going to sink the money into valves. And plus, you're putting in new springs and, possibly upgrading the rockers. Don't know. It starts to look like you might do the math on that and say, hey, it might be better to just go ahead and spring for the very expensive Edelbrock heads or aluminum heads or some other aftermarket aluminum head that's going to probably be made with a whole lot more precision. Just a thought. All right, well, before I wrap this video up this weekend, just want to show a couple things. Like, this is as best I didn't use like a dial indicator or anything with a mag base to find 0, but this is really close to top dead center for number 1. And when I take my caliper here, the best I can figure is that is at its peak. I've just kind of watched as it floats and then starts to go back down and get it centered where it stopped any movement. And it's about 130 thousandths down in this hole. So that's no good. I mean, for making compression, obviously better heads would help. But really, I think needs new pistons. So I don't want to mess with any of that right now. And I'm going to explain a little bit about this engine and why I'm not going to mess with any of that stuff. Going to reuse this cam, not going to jam in an expensive cam that could possibly fail right on startup, right? New lifters, new springs, any of that stuff. I don't care. Now, why did I buy this engine? Well, first of all, because it came with a transmission and it was only $500 several years ago. I see one advertised locally, just the engine. It's a 1974 or 5 440, and the person has it advertised as high performance 440. Looks to be bone stock in the pictures. They did not make a high performance 440 like they did like in 69 or whatever, 70, 68, when they actually put some oomph in them, forged cranks and everything.
So that's why I bought this motor. And then it kind of occurred to me, hey, you know, I could throw this in the Charger. That'd be pretty cool. Have a big block B body. And that's kind of what I'm in the process of doing, clearly. But that's not my end game for this car. I think right now it's more about using what I have, trying to keep it low cost, reuse all this. I know it's going to suck as... All right, don't know where I left off. The camera keeps giving me fits, shutting off automatically. But yeah, the only thing I can really do is put new pistons in this thing and just the whole 9 yards, which I don't want to do. I just want to get this off of my floor and into the car because I think it's going to be a fine engine, all 200 horsepower of it, right? Don't really care. I'm not looking to make quarter-mile trips or anything. I'm not looking to street race or anything. I love big horsepower, but this is not the time for that because I'll dump a lot of money. Horsepower, it's expensive. But more importantly, get this off my floor, get it in the car, be able to drive the car in and out. Because right now I got a dead car here and a dead car here, and I've only got 2 bays. And so that limits me for doing anything else in this garage, like on a rainy day like this. Like say I want to do a brake job, can't do it unless I push this thing down that hill and then try to figure out how to get it back in. Anyhow, so my point is just to keep it as inexpensive as possible, put this thing back together with what I got. A couple of things, yeah, an intake manifold, the proper B-body water pump housing. But other than that, and all that stuff is infinitely reusable. Now, I have a further plan for this engine down the road, and it may surprise you, but it's going to come back out of the Charger, and it won't go back in. Right now, I'm thinking about saving this motor for down the road, a couple years from now, and putting it in Frankenstein. And if you don't know what Frankenstein is, check some earlier videos. It's a 1978 W200. It's got a 360 in it, just a run-of-the-mill 360. Not even the original motor to the truck. It's okay. It's just factory 360, nothing special. But I'll do some stuff to this before it goes into Frank. But I want a big block truck, 4-speed truck. So that means I'm on the hunt for a 4-speed bell housing that'll bolt up to this and to the I think it's a 445 in the truck. That would be super cool. This engine will be perfect for that. For the Charger, I'm caught between 2 different ideas of what I really, really, really want. I'd love to find a 1969-ish 383, a little bit lower deck than this, and mess around with one of those. I think that would be a great engine. Forged crank, build it up, put it in the car. That'd be a lot of fun. The other option, since this car was born with a 318 that's long gone, sitting in the corner over there, pickled, I've had for several years, picked it up off of Craigslist, is a short block 408 stroker. 360 punched out with an Eagle forged crank in it. The bottom end is done. It needs basically everything else now. Cam, heads, the whole 9 yards. It needs everything. It's going to be pricey because I want to do that engine right when the time comes. But it's all about money right now. Why is it all about money? Well, because I need to get a bigger garage, and I'm getting ready to start getting quotes to blow this whole back wall out where my little workbench is, and go another 35 feet that way and 25 feet across and put a lift in with 16-foot ceilings. A lift a car that's like this, that has no engine in it, that's gonna be sitting, it can be on that lift. And I can even lift it up and put a car under it if I needed to. But more importantly, it'll free up this area for me to do other stuff, quick and easy stuff. This will be the bay that just, things have to be running. They can't be derelict for months and months and months, which is painful. And any of y'all working at home in your own shops, you probably know what I'm talking about if you've got a similar situation. So if you're wondering why I'm not going crazy on this, that's the answer. I'm trying to keep it as cheap as possible, put it back together, use what I got, put it in the car, drive it around for a couple years. It's still going to be fun to drive the car. I have never driven this car. I've had it for 19 years. If you saw the original video, 19 years, and I've never driven it. And it still needs a lot. You got to get a good radiator. I got to get a drive shaft. I understand if I go back to small block, I'll have to change the transmission. I'm on the hunt for a good 727 small block. And that'll probably, I don't know, maybe have to change the drive shaft again. Doesn't really matter. But I am thinking about going back to small block with this car. Make it a little more stealth. Even paint the engine, the stroker blue, like it's a 318 car. That would be kind of cool, I think. And it'd save a ton of weight in this car. It ripped too, because there's probably no problem getting 450, 500 horsepower out of that stroker over there. But yeah, I want to drive this thing, and this is going to let me do it. And so it'll be kind of fun. So try to understand where I'm coming from and why I'm not doing all this cool Gucci stuff to this engine. And also, as I mentioned before, I'm not an engine guy, man. I don't know a whole lot about this stuff. I'm learning, and it's a lot of fun. I have really enjoyed working on this so far. And I'm going to keep doing it. And it's pretty boring as far as content, you know, cleaning. You know, you got a happy engine's a clean engine. So, you know, hopefully you enjoy this content. Unfortunately, this is what I'm going to be videoing for the next couple weeks till I get it all bolted back together. I got a couple of little final things to do underneath the hood before I jam this joker in with the transmission, and we'll see how it all fires up and goes. So it's going to be interesting. Stick around. Hopefully sometime towards the end of March, this joker will be lighting off. We shall see. Just the limited time I get out here, I'm trying to maximize it right now. So right now I'm going to go edit all this video to get it ready for upload and everything. And then I'm going to get back, put that passenger side head together. Probably won't film any of that. Just turn up the music and rock and roll for a couple hours, get that thing done, and just hopefully next weekend we start bolting this back together, finally. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. And I really liked all the comments in the last video. Keep them coming. I love to hear what other people have to say and what their thoughts are and everything. So just otherwise, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon here on Rock Rust Garage. Thanks.